Welcome into another episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I am Will Thomas, and we are in the final stretch, the last two videos of our season breakdown and schedule prediction series, and we've got the Texas A&M Aggies today. So last year, A&M was one of the best teams in the country. They were 11-0. Then they went to Texas and lost that game in Austin, and they lost 10-3 at home against Miami in the first round of the playoffs. So it really was an awesome season. They kind of finished with a sour taste in your mouth if you're an Aggie fan because, the last 8 quarters of football didn't look like what you're used to seeing. So then you come back this year. Mike Elko, obviously the head coach. You still have Marcel Reed at quarterback. You keep guys like Mario Craver, and you bring in Isaiah Horton at receiver. The defense, it loses some key pieces, gains some key pieces as well. So the roster's pretty much still there. The schedule is not easy. Schedule's really tough. A lot of the harder games you have are going to be on the road this year for A&M. So let's go through the schedule, go through all 12 games, and we'll make a prediction for each one and really kind of assess what the expectations should look like for A&M this fall in College Station. So in week one, they host Missouri State. That'll be a win. A little easy tune-up, just don't get hurt. We get to see Marcel Reed in the live game action for the first time since last year. I want to see him look confident, see him look poised. Don't make any mistakes. Just beat up a much worse team than yourselves. Then in week two, they host Arizona State. A little out of conference, Big 12 coming in. State, I do believe, is going to, they're Arizona State, right? Dillingham is still their head coach. They'll still be a solid team. They're breaking in Cutter Boley as their quarterback, who came over from Kentucky. So, that process will still be ongoing. I've got A&M just being too much for the Sun Devils. They'll probably compete for the first 20, 25 minutes of game time, but A&M will just be able to lean on Arizona State. They're bigger, they're more physical, they're just stronger. So I'm not worried at all about the Aggies, getting upset here. It could be closer the first half, but I got no worries about A&M beating Arizona State at home in week two. Then in week three, SEC play gets underway for them. They host Kentucky in their conference opener. I've been pretty excited about the Wildcats. I had them pulling off some upsets this year. This is not one of those spots because I do have Kentucky getting a big-time win in week two at home. So then you come on the road to an A&M team in their conference opener. Just be too much. So I have the Aggies beating Kentucky in week three to start off 1-0 in SEC play. Then in week four, it's a tough one. They go to LSU. They go to Baton Rouge. I've voiced my concerns about LSU a decent bit already. Like, they're still going to be good. I don't have them being playoff worthy or championship worthy like some people do. But in week four, I don't have those concerns truly setting in yet. And you also, we all remember when A&M went to Baton Rouge last year, drained the stadium. Now, it is worth noting, obviously, tons of transfers coming in, new coaching staff. So there aren't a ton of people on LSU who were there for that and were a part of it. But, the fans know about it. I think LSU is going to be very up for this game. It's one of their early conference games. LSU is coming home for this game after their road game at Ole Miss. I have LSU losing to Ole Miss and then coming home and getting a home bounce-back win over A&M. So this is where I have the Aggies' first loss of the year at LSU in Week 4, but they'll be 3-1 at this point through 2 games of conference play. And then in Week 5, if they do lose to LSU on the road, they get to come home. They get Arkansas on their home field. Arkansas has enough talent to where you can't really sleepwalk into a game with them. But when you're at home, coming off a loss, I'm not worried about a sleepwalk spot. So give me A&M over Arkansas. They'll be able to just lean on them, be big, be bigger, be more physical, stronger, and faster. They just have a higher caliber of athletes. So give me A&M over Arkansas pretty comfortably at home there. Week 6, A&M goes to Missouri. This game I was very 50-50 on. And I've been really excited about Missouri's offense. I think they portaled in so many good pieces. The potential is really there, but it's a portal offense. Does it actually work when you get on the field? That's the biggest question. And in my opinion, for Missouri, it's going to. But obviously that relies on the transfers meshing well, and also, is Ahmad Hardy running the football at this point in the year? I'm assuming yes to both those questions just for the sake of the predictions. So I think that Missouri is able to catch A&M at home and beat them up in Como. I think that their offense is going to be a lot. And when Marcel Reed has to play from behind, has to score a bunch of points, he can do it. But that's when you've seen him be a little more prone to mistakes and bad throws and maybe poor decisions. So I worry that maybe Missouri could come out, hang a few touchdowns early. You get a momentum driving pick from the Tigers. Things like that could happen. So I'm going to go Missouri over A&M in Week 6. And then Week 7, A&M comes back home. They get the Citadel. They get kind of a middle-of-the-year non-FBS game, so that'll work out very well. And Texas A&M will take care of the Citadel in a bit of almost a bye week before their real bye week. But in Week 8, after they play the Citadel at home, they go to Tuscaloosa. They got to go to Alabama here before their bye week in Week 9. I have this one being a loss as well. I think that Bama's secondary, it's full of ball hawks. It's full of incredible players. So I think that you might catch Marcel Reed making a mistake or two in this game, especially on the road in Tuscaloosa. It's not an easy place to play. So it'll be close. It'll be competitive. I don't believe that Bama is going to run away with this game over A&M at all at this point. But I do have Bama over A&M, leaving the Aggies at 5-3 when they head into their bye week. And then they come out of that Week 9 bye, and in Week 10 they go to South Carolina. That can be a hard place to go play, especially as a favorite, because that place will get up, it will get loud. But I have A&M coming off of a loss, losing 2 of their last 3, and a bye week, being able to get themselves together because they're a better team than Carolina. So I got A&M beating Carolina on the road here. They get to 6-3, and you kind of enter your last 3 games then like knowing that you're probably not in the playoff picture, but based on how the rest of the field pans out, and if you're able to pick up some big time wins, you might still be able to get there. So in these last 3 games, in Week 11, they host Tennessee. I have this being a win. I think that Kyle Field is just going to be too much for that Vols offense that will be good and has tons of playmakers, but it will be a first-year quarterback, whoever it is for the Vols. And in Week 11, they won't be, that doesn't have the same meaning as it does in the first few weeks of the year, but Kyle Field is Kyle Field. Mike Elko is Mike Elko. First-year quarterbacks I don't love against A&M at all, so give me the Aggies over Tennessee at home. In Week 12, A&M goes to Oklahoma. This game was another coin toss for me because playing Oklahoma in general is going to be hard this year because of how good the Sooners' defense is. It is so talented. We know who Brent Venables is as a defensive guy, and you get them in Norman, so you know it's going to be so hard to score a bunch of points. I have A&M winning this game because I think that they're going to be up for this more than the Sooners are at this point. I think that they have more playoff aspirations. They might have more pressure on them, which in this case is going to be a good thing to me. So I have the Aggies being able to go to Norman and knock off Oklahoma. Although if someone wants to fight me on that, I have no argument. It's such a 50-50 game. But for right now, I'm leaning A&M over the Sooners. Then in Week 13, to end the year at 8-3, maybe fighting with your last breath for a playoff spot, A&M hosts Texas. And if you watch the video right before this one, my Texas schedule, or you've just heard what I've said about them in other videos, I could not be higher on Texas this year. And I have the Longhorns beating A&M again this year, even though it's in Kyle Field. I mean, they beat him in College Station 2 years ago. Texas has, since they've gone back to the SEC, they've had A&M's number. And I have that continuing this year. I just believe the Longhorns are just too good. I think they're just too good. And at this point, Texas will be playing for sure for playoff seeding, maybe for a number 1 overall seed, maybe for the rights to go to Atlanta. So, and then obviously with the rivalry too. So Texas is going to be full force for this game. I just had the Longhorns being too much for the Aggies. So that leaves me at 8-4 for Texas A&M. Now, A&M's roster and coaching staff, their potential as a team is more than an 8-4 record would suggest. So this record prediction is not me saying, oh, A&M is just, A&M is not as good as they are on paper. This is a very good team. I love their receivers. I trust that defense. I do believe that Marcel Reed will have a higher floor this year than he did last season. The schedule is just hard, man. I mean, road games against LSU, Missouri, Bama, Carolina, Oklahoma. Like, I have them losing those first 3. I had them losing to LSU, Missouri, and Bama. Like, the road games are very hard. Those should be able to take care of just about all their home games, except for Texas, in my opinion. But it's a lot of tricky games. They at least do duck Georgia, but they do play really most of the top half, at least projection-wise, of the SEC. So me saying that A&M's going 8-4, it's not a dig to the roster. It is not a dig to the players. It's a compliment to the rest of the league and what the SEC is going to look like this fall. So I've got A&M going 8-4. That will be short of a playoff bid, and Mike Echols going to have a lot ahead of him before the 2027 season because he'll be losing his quarterback. He'll be losing a bunch of key pieces, but it's A&M. I'm not worried about them long-term at all. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. If you have been enjoying all this college football preview stuff, this SEC content, subscribe to me here and follow me on Twitter. I will be doing this every single day up until we kick off in August. So thanks so much for tuning into this episode. I've been Will Thomas, and I will see you next time.